Yeah.
What does it say there?
What is the color scheme then?
The rust.
Well, most of it is that rust, but then you've got this purple bucket and those blue boxes. Also the
purple bucket's
flowers.
part of it?
Hmm? Yeah, the bucket and the blue boxes are part of it. What?
Yeah.
The merge between technology and nature.
I thought
Or
it
the
was
death of nature with technology.
Instinct and logic.
But that seems to be the typical theme when people are asked to go get things to make sculpture out of, is
Yeah,
that
it's
it's
religious
decayed,
quest.
thrown away things. So it deals with entropy, that whole process of decay. Most of the things here are decaying, and then you have the life things, the flowers that
Religious
are
quest.
still alive.
That's what it is.
Hmm?
Be good with this.
the first time I came in here, I
Yeah,
saw an
the pond is
altar.
in the very
so-
center.
Really?
Well, it's a rook, actually.
Oh, it's
The
a rook?
pond's right there on the rook side.
Oh, really? Okay, just switch that over.
Well, it has become an icon or a kind of altarpiece anyway.
I want to change that pond. Put that pond in the center because we all are ponds.
Any other comments about this? I mean, in terms of what we were looking at? We could pull out our sheets and look at them and go through this step by step. What about its form? Yeah.
I was gonna say one thing that sort of bugs me for some reason is it's so symmetrical with these things. Like I kind of think, well, I don't really think there's any use in walking around.
No,
here.
that doesn't work.
What doesn't work? The symmetry of
pond.
it?
No, the pond.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, when I came in, that's what I saw, the beauty and symmetry.
Mhm. That's why you brought these pieces in and you put them all in a, well, somebody else brought them in, you put them all on one side. And I felt like I needed to make it
There
more
was
symmetrical.
three, but I saw them as a symmetry of three.
Right.
With the fourth on, like almost like a piece symmetry.
Oh, I
So I
see.
saw symmetry in there.
Right.
Then you
right.
made more symmetry.
Then I made it more balanced almost. But the danger with this is you look at it from a distance. I mean, does it look like it's unified? Does it look like it's one thing? Look at this room. You have to think of this room as the sculpture.
You should take everything else out that doesn't belong, like coats and stuff like that.
What would you, yeah, okay. Take out your coats if you have coats here, and any garbage or anything that you think shouldn't belong here. Let's look at it again. Is it one thing, this over here, this and that log over there, and the Elks paper bags up on the wall?
No, that's not the same thing.
What?
That's like a sculpture. And this
That's
is
a
different.
totally different thing. Yeah.
This has become a separate altarpiece unto
Yeah.
itself. You put this over here, right? Started to build
Well, I
something
just
over
put
here?
yeah, because, I mean, it didn't really fit in with what, you guys basically already started the format for that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so we just
So we
thought
just kind of decided, well, never mind.
maybe.
Just build your own?
Yeah.
Well, I think
Okay.
it does kind of add to it.
I mean, if we're looking at it inside the room, right,
Mhm.
maybe it is a part, because we also have things on the walls.
Mm-hmm.
That would include the lights on the ceilings. Maybe if we put things on the ceiling coming down, it would have made it seem all like it all goes.
Yeah, that's the problem with this thing by itself,
Sounds
is
so
that
low.
it's very flat.
Yeah.
It's very low, very, very low. That it's not fully three-dimensional in that, I mean, you could have somehow
Built
put
it
these maybe,
upwards more.
yeah.
Yeah, and we could have used those things to build them upwards more. And I thought maybe if we could have taken the tire and somehow put it on top of the bottom log, but there were already things on top and I didn't really want to disturb them.
You can do that. I mean, there's,
I could have done that, right? But I didn't want to interfere, because already that was like what you're saying, unified, right? The colors were
Yeah.
already browns and stuff. And then we brought in all these metals and tire and industrial looking things.
that's why you should always think large to begin with and then go into the details. The problem is the log was brought in and little things were put on top of it then. It's actually quite a beautiful thing. I mean, there's some nice textural things happening there. It's funny how flowers go with rust really well. But as soon as you start putting details on top of that log, you can't go up from that. Like you say, you can't, when you came in, there's nothing you could do to raise that up in any way, except to come out in a spiral kind of way, which is what's happened here. Why the paper bags and why stop it there.
Well, I did that. I was gonna put them all the way around, but I sort of got bored of it. So I thought if I did it,
See, that's the big danger in sculpture too, is getting lazy. I don't feel like doing that on the
or I
other
was
side.
hoping someone else would continue it or something. But I wanted to
I was
sort
hoping
of
that too. But
tie it, like have something to look at when you look over there, so that the whole room looks like a sculpture,
Right.
sort of.
Okay,
So
well that's the kind of motivation behind installation art
I have
too.
a slight problem with the swastika there. It just kind of looks too pretty. I mean, I
Too
could see-
decorative?
You know, with the leaves on it, I mean, I could see if you were to somehow make it look as foul as the sign does represent today, but there, it means, like, it's an old.
It's a sun sign.
It's a piece. Yeah, I understand that, like, for me, I understand, like, the natives have used it long time before, you know, it ever became swastika.
So what's your point?
But my point is, for people that don't have the understanding are gonna look at that and think, well, it's a good thing, or not a good thing, or they're positive towards it because it looks pretty, you know?
But the Nazis flipped it the other way, did they not?
Yeah, they did.
It's actually a completely different symbol.
Yeah,
And-
I realize that, but it's still, even though it's a different symbol, people tend to get that confused.
But you
Yeah.
can't change everything just because someone might get confused.
Yeah.
That's true.
But isn't it a question of power? I mean, the Nazi symbol was so powerful, it was that they expropriated its use.
Mhm.
And so you say, well, look, it's not the same at all, it's backwards, but in fact, people, that's a fairly fine discrimination, isn't it? Between taking the leaves and making them go left
I
as
don't know,
opposed to
for
right.
people where that symbol is such a strong part of their culture, that might be seen as a slap in the face, that, sorry, you can't use your symbol anymore, it's been appropriated by the Nazis. I don't know.
Symbols
Can
are
I-
symbols.
There's a
Can
Buddha
I
in the
just say
museum.
something?
Sure.
About the symbol, I don't know if we should have included any symbols in there because the objects on their own are symbolic, and the whole project was to put not symbols together, but objects together to create almost one symbol, right? I mean, instead of having those symbols
Yeah, yeah.
added, like they're so obvious already, there's a symbol, right? Where we could have looked at the whole unified thing as a symbol.
Well,
instead.
exactly, and that was really the project, is to make one unified thing.
That's right.
It's hard, you can see how hard it is, and it was hard when we did the environmental piece in the park as well. People start making their own little altars separate from other people's. It's been such a part of our culture to make individual art that it's really, really difficult to cooperate and make one piece that works coherently anymore. There are people who do it. There's a group called Komar and Melamed. It's a pair, two friends, and they work on the same paintings together. Really hard project. Really hard.
But,
I don't know that. What is it?
Like these people that do all these photographs are Club 2000, and like they have like special themes that they keep doing. Like their special theme is like the Gap, and they like dress up in like Gap clothing, but then they pretend that they're gangs, and then they take pictures of it. It's like 6 people, right? It's in Europe, 6 people, and they do all these like funny photography.
Wow.
It's really cool.
But that's hard. I mean, it takes a long time of living together and learning from each other, and a lot of it is planned. I mean, if this was planned by all of us, we might have done one coherent thing, but it's all over the place. What about the fact, do you think the meaning of this is taken over from the form? Because that's my feeling in some ways.
what do you mean? The meaning?
The meaning, I mean, remember we were talking about form, aesthetics,
Right.
three-dimensional design, versus bringing in something like that Betty Page book to signify something. It's starting to signify something.
That's right. It
You know?
almost, the flowers are great, but looking at it, there's a lot of industrial stuff, and rust colored is a very earthy tone, and then with the flowers, of course, it looks good. Almost if someone was looking at it and trying to find a meaning for it, I might think that it was an environmental issue, almost. Then with the symbols in it, there's like confusion. I'm saying I have nothing against the flowers. I think they look great. Just that if there were a meaning to it, to me personally, I would think it was like an environmental art, trying to prove something.
Yeah.
On a
We're trying to
positive
show
note-
maybe overconsumption.
Yeah. On a positive note, I do think that this worked as a three-dimensional project in the sense that you do want to walk around the whole thing instead of just looking at one angle of
But
it.
why do you want to walk around the whole thing?
Because it's so busy, because there's more on, there's,
Is it
yeah.
because you want to look at the details?
Yeah.
Okay.
Detail.
I think the details overwhelm this, and it's a big problem with sculpture. When we get into the clay pieces, we've got to keep it simple. I think that the more complex it is, the more difficult it is. The only way complexity is going to work is if you have an overall unification
I
there.
think the details for this works though, just simply because it's like with clay, it's just one object, but you told us to bring in multiple of objects. And it does make you look at every little aspect from it, like a little tiny corner on, you know, the pieces of metal there, how it's cracked to, you know, the entire form in itself, because it does have that.
Most of it works texturally. There's some things that don't work texturally. Gravity again, you got to watch out for gravity. Texturally, things like leaves, I wouldn't have thought that they would have worked with rust. Somebody said it before, actually, it works really nicely, you know. The stone and the rust, I mean, you can almost feel it by looking at it. Some things like the technological bit, that whatever it is, remote or something, that's hanging from there, that takes over in terms of meaning. I mean, formally, in terms of aesthetics, is there a reason for that to hang there? Is there a reason for the hair to hang off it formally or aesthetically? Probably not.
You know, I can see for meaning wise, just kind of like with the rook underneath there, symbolizing the individual, I suppose, for me being the center.
Yeah, we weren't going for meaning like that.
Yeah, well, I see meaning behind that, just technology overhanging by like a wire,
Sure,
you know,
sure.
on top of our heads.
I think that maybe if we had put all the smaller objects closer together in clumps, in order to create an object and not so much, because so far apart, it seems like a lot more confusion and they're more individual pieces. If they'd been thrown together in a strong, like a pile, it would have created a stronger feeling, and it could have been made a bigger, more vertical structure, and it would have been a stronger looking, because it's already it's self-destructing itself because it's not close knit enough to stay together.
I don't know, they're all attached though. I mean, they are all together. There's not one thing that is not on
This
there that
bucket,
is not
this
attached.
bucket.
Well, yeah, the
There's
bucket.
a hand on top of that.
Yeah, I
thing.
guess with the
See,
little
texturally,
things
here's
on
about truth to nature. I'm not sure these things go together, or truth to materials, these things go together in terms of the material. When I think of plaster and this kind of waxy paper, also the hair on the metal there, the shiny metal, I find that doesn't work, but the hair on the rust would be beautiful for some reason. I mean, there's truth to material again. There's some materials that for whatever reason look beautiful together. I remember a professor of mine walked up to me with a big rusted piece of metal with one of those donuts on it with all the colored sparkles on the top, and he just loved this thing.
I can understand why the flowers and the rust work together, because that is what happens naturally. is when things
But I'm not,
start to-
I don't think it has anything to do with meaning though. I think it has to do with texture, something
Yeah,
color-wise.
not even meaning, just the whole, like, it is the natural process.
the green and red.
And as the technology, as the metal that we create dies, plants around start to grow again over top of it. And so it adds such beautiful colors with the red.
Yeah, you're looking for meaning in everything, Karen. In everything.
But in a way, don't you think that, and this is just me as an observer, because I wasn't here building this, but I think that in a way, the way it's set up kind of does make people just want to see meaning. Because it tends to, when I look at this, I see a lot of like fractalization or something happening, you know? Like the more I look at it, the more I'm less likely to see a unit. Like I tend to see certain things being grouped together in my head, like I guess by association somehow.
Yeah.
And it just seems to lose its cohesion.
When you first
It's
walk
those
in,
things that you group together that you should put together. Those things that group together naturally, texture and color, should be grouped together. And now, yeah, you're right. There's a lack of cohesion here, lack of structure to it in some ways. I'm not sure we were entirely successful. I think though that if you think of a person being this big, what a great place to play this would be. You know, like you could
Kind
run
of
up these
dangerous.
things. And, yeah, but those are always the fun things to play with, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
This sort of beadwork that's hanging around that pole that's coming out, I find. I don't know.
That one should be on that one.
Too much.
Yeah, it seems to.
Yeah.
Maybe we can look at that one now.
That
Maybe we
one I
can
like.
combine them.
You like that one?
That one, yeah. I like it too.
Why do you like it?
Because it just says like,
It looks like it could be in a bedroom.
When I look at it, it looks so complete. Like it doesn't look like you need to change it at all, and
It
it
looks
looks
like
like
one-
it's meant to be like that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It
Why
looks
is
like they
that?
brought it in like that.
What works there that doesn't
Because
work?
there's a theme. There's like a.
But
Because,
is that theme a formal theme, or is that theme a meaning theme? Or?
No, it's not. Just
And it also has a frame around it, and it just looks like it's supposed to fit in there.
Hmm.
And the way the colors, like there's yellow sort of all around.
Really?
What if we put stones around this, like we had little boulders like this and put it around it? It might isolate it more and make more sense of it that way. I guess using a corner, there is a group of artists or a whole tradition in art where you corner pieces. So making pieces of art that are supposed to fit just into a corner. There's sculpture that's supposed to fit in a corner. And that's the only place it's supposed to be. It won't hang any other way. So it's interesting. I find that content is taken over here too personally. But it makes more sense because the structure of the wall itself is actually structure in your piece. Though it is separate from this in my mind.
Yeah, that has more of an indoor feeling, I feel like that has been taken from somebody's house and then you put it all together as if you're randomly cleaning and then you made this beautiful piece of art and the stuff that you found.
Look at this great stuff you found. Some really neat things. A pig?
I
Without
found
the
that.
head? It's great. On the hair even, fine hair. Where's Elizabeth? Is she gone? Yeah, some really bizarre things.
The hair adds.
And more of the rust. Where was the rust found? In the alleyway?
Parking lot. Sort of, I don't know.
There's a parking lot down there and around the corner.
Okay. Well, we'll leave this up until Thursday, and we'll take it down on Thursday again.
I
This-
asked that all the pieces that were in the box that I have,
Go back into it? Okay, well, we'll do that on Thursday.
that should be here. So.
On Thursday, we're going to go to the gallery, the warehouse. It's an abandoned warehouse. It's a collective. It's a group of artists that get together, and every year they put on a show. They rent a warehouse space, and it's an great old abandoned warehouse. Nothing else in there except this warehouse. And they work on the pieces that are meant to be site-specific. That means that they make a piece for that corner. They make a piece for this room that they found there. But they do it individually, so one piece would work over here. Another person would go over here and make a piece for the windows. Another person would do a piece for the smokestack or something specific for that smokestack. So we'll go look at what they've done. It's called installation art. It's similar to what we've done here. The next week after that, we'll start recycling the clay so that we can start making the non-objective piece the week after that. What you also need when we do that is a board, probably about that thick and about this wide. But I'll tell you about that later on. So next week we're going to take this down and we're going to go see this other show and come because it's a really cool show. It's really, really nice stuff there. Bizarre art.
And then I can show everyone where I live.
Sure. You can make pizza.
So that if I ever have a big party, everyone can come over and trash my place.
Where is it now?
It's on Dufferin. Dufferin and King. Have you been to it?
Near my house.
It's more different and
Oh,
clean.
really? It's good. It's good.